Gator, I choose you! Gator! Welcome to Pack Tactics. You can actually get a Pokeball in D&D. This legendary item is the Pokeball. It's called an Iron Flask. Let's read what it says. This iron bottle has a brass stopper. You can use an action to speak the flask's command word, targeting a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you. If the target is native to a plane of existence other than the one you're on, the target must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw or be trapped in the flask. If the target has been trapped by the flask before, it has advantage on the saving throw. Once trapped, a creature remains in the flask until released. The flask can hold up to one creature at a time. A creature trapped in the flask doesn't need to breathe, eat, or drink and doesn't age. You can use an action to remove the flask's stopper and release the creature the flask contains. The creature is friendly to you and your companions for 1 hour and obeys your commands for that duration. If you give no commands or give it a command that is likely to result in its death, it defends itself, but otherwise takes no actions. At the end of the duration, the creature acts in accordance with its normal disposition and alignment. An identify spell reveals that a creature is inside the flask, but the only way to determine the type of creature is to open the flask. A newly discovered bottle might already contain a creature chosen by the GM or determined randomly. And then it gives a big table on which someone could roll for a random creature. Here's the official art, by the way. Anyways, this item could be easily compared to planar binding, which basically allows you to take control of creatures for a certain amount of time. But this item doesn't cost anything. It's just really hard to get. Like planar binding, there's no real big guide around what creatures you should take control of. Basically, anything that you could get your hands on is good. If you find a stronger creature than what you already have, try to swap the creatures around. Usually, spellcasters are some of the strongest kinds of creatures you can find, so focus on those. Or you could just look for a strong brawler. As for how to trap enemies, any effect that debuffs enemies' ability on saving throws is super useful for this item. Silvery Barbs is a really good spell. Another good way is College of Eloquence Bard's Unsettling Words. There's more ways than that, just look at what is accessible to you. Once you actually capture a creature, it is very easy to keep control of them forever. Usually the creature returns to its senses after an hour and no longer obeys your commands. So consider this. We've been controlling a Grunginja for 59 minutes. We then command them to stay still for a minute. This is not something that will likely result in its death, so it will obey. During this minute, we repeatedly try to capture it again. That is 10 tries. A Grung has a +0 bonus for wisdom saving throws, and it has advantage because it's been inside the iron flask before. So there's a 36% chance they succeed on a singular saving throw. To succeed on 10, we do 0.36 to the power of 10. For the chance they fail at least once, we look at its complements. There's a 99.99% chance they fail at least once during that time. So yeah, it's pretty likely you're gonna capture the creature again, but what if it's something like a +6 bonus? At that point, there's a 94.36% chance they fail at least once during that time. So yeah, you only need a very small amount of time to capture it again, even if they have advantage. And then you can just release it and command it for another hour. It is pretty unlikely that you won't have a moment of respite to start the clock again, especially considering that most combats take around a minute or less. The basic idea is to return your Pokemon into the Iron Flask once you don't need it, and get it out a bit before you need it again. Once you go to sleep, keep it inside as well. That's the gist of the item. There are a couple of other things you can do, but you may or may not want to use them in your games, so be warned. But before we get into the optimization stuff, this video is sponsored by Grim Hollow, Volek and Clans. Become a mighty Norwegian and murder giant monsters. This is 2 huge books. You have a setting guide and an entire adventure starting from level 3 to 11. The setting guide is called Raider's Guide to Valaka. It has everything you need to know, but that's not all. They boosted the martials with brand new martial maneuvers. There's also a raid mechanic to tackle large-scale battles, 2 new transformations, and many subclasses and feats. Kobold, look, he became a furry! Gator, that's clearly not a furry! Anyways, the adventure book is called Saga of the Seasons. It's a big adventure that lasts an entire year in-game where players tackle unique challenges that arise in each of the 4 seasons. Not only that, the adventure's filled with new monsters and unique encounters. Experience the life of a Valakan raider as you grow your clan's power and prestige. Check out Grim Hollow, Valakan Clans. It's now on Kickstarter. Herreminat, dette ser kjempegøy! Viking! Back to the video. Kobold, I'm going to capture them all. I'm the Pokemon Master. Gator, you can't literally catch them all. The target has to be native to another plane of existence than the one you're on. This won't always be the case. Some will be native to the material plane if you're there. Some might be native to other planes you're on. To catch them all is a real test. To face such challenges along the way, you could take advantage of spells like Rope Trick or Magnificent Mansion. As I explained in my Rope Trick video, which I will link below, once you're inside, you are no longer on the plane you were on before entering. If you manage to get a creature to follow you inside, you can then capture them, even if they're native to the plane you were on just a second ago. Now, finally, if you want to get a real party going, you can, in fact, get multiple creatures with 1 iron flask that will obey you. Let me explain. We can basically make use of a rotating system. 1, we capture creature number 1. Let's say it's Pikachu. 2, we let out Pikachu and capture creature number 2. Let's say it's Charizard. 3, we let out Charizard and capture creature number 3, which is Bulbasaur. 4, we let out Bulbasaur and capture Squirtle. That's creature number 4. And at 5, we get our Squirtle out. And if we manage to do all this within an hour, we are controlling 4 different creatures. The item limits the amount of creatures that can stay in the flask, but there is no such limit on the amount of creatures you can control. So from there, you just keep rotating the creatures until the time goes up. And voila, you're ready to fight your first gym. Once you have to go to sleep, you won't be able to rotate them yourself, which makes it a bit more tricky. But the flask is an attunement, so there are plenty of ways to fix it. You could have your party rotate who is sleeping. You could have your familiar help. You could form a command to have captured creatures capture each other all night. Or you could have someone cast something like Tiny Servant to do it for you. Really, there are lots of ways to keep this rotation going. But yeah, even using this item normally is just broken. But it's fun to talk about. And hey, maybe you get a coven of hags at certain tables. Anyways, end of video. Kobold, this is my favorite video. It's because of all the Pokemon references, right? Anyways, remember to check out Grim Hollow. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye!